Hello, this is Matthew Chiles, and that weird and gently hypnotic sound is the sound of furniture being tested. Soothing, isn't it? And that sound was taking place at FIRA, the Furniture Industry Research Association, an organisation you can find in an industrial park in Stevenage, Hertfordshire, just a short bike ride from the train station. And what was causing that soothing, hypnotic sound? Well, a device called a seat loading pad, or naturalistically shaped rigid indenter, though more affectionately known as the BSI bum. This important piece of equipment dates back to the mid-1960s, and it's used to test the durability of office chairs, sofas, beds, and all sorts of furniture by simulating real-world use. Since its introduction, the BSI bum, or the standard bum, has become a bit of an icon. It's become the standard for testing furniture design. Now, I was there in Stevenage at FIRA, not only to meet this icon of the furniture testing world, but also to meet another one, Levent Caglar, a legend in ergonomics, design and standards making. If you've ever sat in an office chair, used a stand-up desk, put together some children's furniture, slept in a bed, and let's be honest, most of us have done at least one of those things, then you will have benefited from the work of Levent, organisations like FIRA and the BSI bum. So, are you sitting comfortably? Then let us begin.
You are listening to The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards, with Matthew Chiles and Cindy Paragill.
Levent Caglar is head of Consultancy and senior ergonomist at FIRA, the Furniture Industry Research Association. For around 40 years, he has provided ergonomics input into the design, development and assessment of furniture from concept to final product stage for US, European and British manufacturers. And he's a standards maker too, a member and chair of both BSI and European standards committees for domestic furniture, office furniture, educational furniture, childcare products, and many, many others. Before I went down to the testing area at FIRA, I chatted with Levent about his long and distinguished career as an ergonomist, and because it's the Standards Show, also about his standards making journey. We also talked about the standards he's currently working on, sharing his insights and experience on the standards making process as he does so, and also about ISO 9241 in particular, the multi-part standard covering ergonomics and human-centered design processes. But we started with ergonomics itself. What is it, and why is it so important?
Ergonomics is important because it's centered on the human being. Everything goes around the human being. So ergonomics basically tries to ensure that the design of products, workplaces, work environments is based on the capabilities and abilities of the individual to maximize on their abilities rather than maximizing on their they're not so good at. And also you modify it to make sure that they fit well to the person, not physically, dimensionally, and mentally as well, so that we improve the well-being of the people and the safety, as well as at the time improving the efficiency. So happier people work more efficiently. And nowadays we also need to think about user experience, how they actually experience this ergonomics. Ergonomics is basically about people, because when I was doing my degree, which was a design mechanical engineering degree, I did a module on human factors, and I then realized how designers didn't really care about people. They didn't think about who's going to use it and things like that. Most thing is, if you get a chair, it's designed by the designer. Says it fits me, I can't see what's wrong with it.
So when is that? Obviously, it's now. How important has it become? Why are now designers and manufacturers taking notice of this practice of ergonomics?
Okay, in 1992, when the whole lot of health and safety regulations came from Europe, one of which was the display screen equipment regulations, computers were new, and ergonomics became a most important factor in the design of these workplaces and the computer equipment, etc. Ever since, that's just picked up in ergonomics. But everyone now calls everything ergonomics. I've seen ergonomic toothbrushes, ergonomic pens, so sometimes misused. But it was that started a kick-off. I think it was the legislation started off because every workplace had to be ergonomic, and it just took off from there.
So people will experience this, the effect of that within their workplaces and within their home, everything they sort of experience now?
Yes, I mean the ergonomics of home has been around. Not a lot of people paid attention to, but now you could get more and more people concerned with the ergonomics of people when using furniture or other things at home. In that sense, it's user experience and sort of perception of comfort and usability has become an issue. So we are now covering ergonomics in all different areas. Not on initially it was workplaces and factories and things like that. So
we're sitting here at a round table on a couple of chairs with we got 5 wheels on these chairs.
Yes.
I just wonder what are the ergonomic considerations for you and I to sit down in a comfortable way and have this conversation? It's
got to fit you first. And
do you think it does?
It should do. If you adjusted it.
What adjustment should I be making?
Well, you could make the height adjustment, and the seat goes backwards and forwards to get enough seat depth. So basically, we try to get the chair will fit you. And when you sit on the chair, it should be comfortable, soft enough for you to feel comfortable, yet it should be firm enough to support your weight so you don't get pressure points and various other things. Basically, that's all it does. It needs to match you, and you really don't need to be aware of what you're sitting on. So what you're sitting on means if you're aware of it, you're feeling some sort of discomfort maybe.
I must admit I'm not aware of it. It is quite nice. Maybe I could lower it slightly, but I'm enjoying it so far. So it's working.
It has to be dynamic as well. It has to allow you to move, not sit fixed in a fixed posture.
Now, Levent, you've been working in ergonomics a long time now. I just wonder what was your motivation for getting involved in this practice?
It was my degree in design and engineering, where I came across designs and then users' experience was not at all considered. And then, so when I finished my degree, I applied for ergonomics at University of London, and I got accepted, and I was a very good tutor. And ever since, I've just become an ergonomist, so I look at ergonomics of everything. So,
yeah, what is your sort of day-to-day practice? What are you working on the day-to-day?
Every day is different. And since I've been working in this field for about 40 years, so I have been involved in working with designers, helping them design new products, designing workplaces, and one of a number of projects I did was designing a place called Aliens Office.
Aliens Office?
Yes. If you're a non-UK person, when you first arrive here, you have to go and register yourself.
Oh, I see. Illegal Aliens Office, potentially.
Yes. No, legal one. So you had to get... So it was very interesting. I had to redesign the whole building, the workplace, the equipment they use, the paperwork, the systems of work. Same I did with NatWest Bank and Abbey National and things. Complete redesign of workplace, of furniture, and how people worked on their work shift periods and things like that.
So this is for people to Aliens Office. So this
it was just an interesting one. It's for people. If you have a right to stay in UK, you have to go and register where you live. So annually, you have to go there, register yourself. So it was interesting.
The ergonomics for that particular
the whole
place.
Building, yes, looking at the ergonomic issues when we designed.
And what sort of considerations were taken in place
we were looking at basic things as people sitting on various things and bench heights and whether you sit, stand and things like that, and also a lot of documentation, how you use the documents, whether the documents were necessary, easy to understand, especially people with limited English. Does it help them understand what you're asking and things like that? So the whole building, and we had to make sure there was a flow of work was much more efficient because they wanted to improve the efficiency. That was the starting point. And we got, and also work with police designing police stations as well as cells in police stations. And could you believe door has a little hole on it to see inside to the inside the cell. So the height was arranged so that a tall policeman could see, the women couldn't see through it. So we had to make sure that you had a number of those also people could look
Could
through.
actually look through.
Yeah, it's as basic as that. They didn't think.
I mean, do you find with your work on that,
It's-
do you
it's
think,
interesting.
how on earth have we not
Yeah,
thought
exactly.
about these considerations?
Exactly. It seems common sense, but it wasn't that common. Everyone would do it.
It does seem a bit bizarre that we're designing sort of systems and furniture that's not fit for human use. In
Exactly.
A sense.
This is what I mean. It is not. It should be, any design should start with the intended people who are actually going to use the service, the product, or whatever. So look at what their sizes, shapes, their needs, and mental abilities, etc. So that's a perfect design.
Yeah. Give me any sense of how you might work with that then. Obviously you've got the designer itself, him or herself,
Yes.
you've got the manufacturer, you've got distributors, and obviously got yourselves as an ergonomist. How do you work together to make sure you get the design right?
Well, we work with them at the early stages in a real sketch side of things, make sure that they are aware of who the intended users are, where it's going to be used. Because a chair, there isn't an ideal chair, you can use it everywhere. Depends on what you're going to do with it, how long you're going to sit on it, things like that, and what you want to do, relax or work. So you work with them to develop, and you do a number of prototypes, get it tested by the users. So user trials become a very important part of that. And then you work with the manufacturers to make sure that they can manufacture, and also the users. And I also work with lots of organizations looking at their workplaces. Are they fit for purpose or not? Things like that. So
to a great extent then, well, to what extent is everything that we might use in terms of furniture, for example, are ergonomic issues or ergonomists involved in those all the time now? It is now a systemic service?
yes, in definitely office and contract, but not so much in domestic. If you think of your sofas, they're always much too big for you to sit on.
They are. The one I have, I won't name the place I brought it from, but the cushions are a bit too wide.
Yes.
And I can't quite get a comfortable position. And yet in the shop it felt nice and comfy.
Yeah.
But using it on a long-term basis, I'm thinking this feels too
Yes.
big. So why
This is too deep. So
too deep?
They sell cushions so that you can support your back. Either you support your back feet sticking out, or you sit at the front, support at the back.
So why have they done that?
Oh, that's look. There's a golden rule. That's
go on.
perception.
Right.
Perception of comfort. Everyone thinks something soft, large is where you relax. Some of those sofas are meant to be sleeping on or sitting on it completely, not with your legs dangling. You sit actually on it. That would be comfortable.
Yes, because you end up slumping on it instead.
Yes, and that's
not good.
It is changing, but it's very slow. I mean, you look at the Scandinavian furniture, they tend to be not so deep, and they seem to be much more human oriented. So, but we are moving, but very, very slowly. And its furniture has become a fashion item, so it's not like the old days where you had a furniture passed from generation to generation.
This is Cindy Parakill here with a reminder that you can rate, review, and subscribe to The Standard Show wherever you get your podcasts. And you can get in touch and find and follow us on social media too. All the details are in the show notes.
Just on the you explained there about also the role of the ergonomist to make sure that you're creating human-centered products and
Yes.
furniture. Is there a connection with longevity? The fact that you're designing it this way, does it make the product last longer? Does it improve the quality?
Yes, I mean, we do have one of my other roles is doing a lot of standards work where I chair a number of furniture committees in SEN and BSI. We have to ensure that the products last, they're safe in the first place, and also we have durability standards to make sure they last longer. Or nowadays, we are now looking at the products even to extend it even more. A furniture must be easily repairable, so you can extend its life. You could repurpose, remanufacture, or basically refurbish this thing, so extending the life of it. That helps stop stuff going into the landfill. So there is this thing. So we're currently working on those, extending the life of the furniture and all other products as well.
Now you mentioned standards, and I want to ask you about your standards journey. You've been in this field now for 30, 40 years. Your standards journey, how and when did it start for you?
It was first committee I joined was in 1988, 89. I've been here about 2 years. It was the school furniture group. I got involved in school furniture. And because I knew the school furniture was rubbish, so we needed to improve it, and it didn't fit the children. So that was the first committee, and then I have been involved in that committee ever since. Now I chair both UK and European committees, and we have new standards currently developed, and we are developing. And then I got involved in the office furniture side of things at the same time, and ergonomics committee, which was the PH9. And that's interesting. At that time, 94, the displaced screen equipment regulations came into force, and we were ISO. I was then in ISO developing 9241 Part 5, 9241 series of standards. And I got involved in launching the regulations, and HSC said that the standard we produce should enable people to check if the equipment or the workplaces meet the requirements of the regulations. So 9241 series were basically brought to ensure that people can comply with the requirements of regulations by following the standard.
A good example of how standards and regulation work together. But your motivation then to get involved was about because you wanted to make a difference.
People's lives better. I think just make sure that standards work for people. It's not just for the manufacturers or the test houses, for the people. It'll have the benefits to the people.
So your motivation then obviously was to make a difference. You felt there was something lacking. Your motivation for staying involved, is it still the same?
Yes, because there are so many standards, and I got involved in other types of standards as well. So I just thought there was something lacking in standards. It really was. Standards made in 80s were basically done by manufacturers and the not so much the users. So they want to ensure their products were within the standards, and there wasn't really concern about the actual users or the benefit to the society at large and things like that. So that was the motivation. And then I jumped to office furniture side of things, domestic furniture, and now I'm looking into circular economy and sustainability from a human point of view. Everyone talks about what does it mean to the humans, to the people. So I want to make sure that I ask the questions: why are we doing this? What is the benefit for the user? So bring them back to people got to live with this, it affects their life.
Well, you say that about affects their lives, and it's one of those things, isn't it, where people don't realise these are the sorts of conversations that are taking place in order to create a chair that they will use every day. Just wonder, looking back, I mean, you're currently still a standards maker. Looking back on your standards journey so far, what particular things are you most proud of?
Well, I mean, 9241 Part 5 is one of them. We developed, finished the document in 1999. 1988, so that was published in 99. We were running out of time. The meeting lasted 2 days, Thursday, Friday, and we were supposed to finish Friday. We couldn't, but it had to be in by Monday. So we came to my house on a Saturday. Whole Saturday, we finished the standard and submitted on the Monday.
Dedication to the cause.
Yeah, and then we revised it because that was in 1999. In early beginning of 2019, 2020, we thought we need to bring it up to date. It's now 20-year-old standard. So I worked on the second version of this, and we then published it at the end of 2024. Again, making sure that the standards are up to date and addresses the needs of the users and the workplaces and the equipment we have nowadays.
So 9241-5, what difference has that made and does make?
It does help people to understand what needs to be done at workplaces to improve the people's well-being and their efficiency at the same time. Equipment fits them to enhance their work, and basically they enjoy their work better. And things like sit-stand desks and monitor arms, and to ease. We know working with computers forces you in a fixed posture, which is not very good for human beings. We need to be dynamic. So we make sure there are different things like sit. Another thing was the achievement. Okay, not strictly sit-stand is standard issue, but 92415, when we first published in 1999, I've introduced a concept called sit-stand desking. This was back in before anyone knew what sit-stand desking was. That it is alternating between sitting and standing.
I'm a
helps
big
you.
fan of that.
Yeah.
I've stood up a lot pre-COVID, but certainly post-COVID.
Yeah.
So that's obviously become a much bigger thing now for people.
And in 2016, I was part of the campaign called Get Britain Standing. So again, pushed, and finally we made it possible that people would use sit-stand desking. Initially, they thought it's only if you're disabled you will use a height adjustable desk. We said, if it is good for someone disabled.
So do we have you to thank, Levent, for
No.
this new wave of working,
Yes.
this new style?
It was started in 1999, and it took us 15 years to get it going.
And are the health benefits proven of this approach?
Definitely. I mean, I swear by it. I had my sit-stand desk for 30
I was looking
years.
over at I think that's your desk over there.
Yes.
That looks it looks huge as well. So
Well, that was designed by me, and then was made by a manufacturer. In those days, we had a great big computer screens, very deep, large. So that's why it was designed for that many years ago.
So that is a personalised desk for you, that one.
Yes.
Very nice. And a very nice red chair to go with it, with
Well, that
a
chair
very interesting backrest design there, sort of in a cross at the back there.
Yeah, that
Again,
is
that's personal to you.
not really designed personally. No, it is one of the things. It's a chair, as also you can perch on it, so you don't have to sit.
Just as on a personal basis, how often do you stand up and how often do you sit down during the
Most
working
of the
day?
time I move about and stand up, and I'm very tired, I sit down, or I use that perching, so I'm semi-sit, semi-standing. So
I must admit, this is just a personal aside. Having really adopted this idea of the standing up, I find that I look at the computer screen less. I do take more breaks. I do walk around and come back. My energy levels are definitely higher. And I'll be honest, I think I burn 300 to 400 more calories a day just by standing up.
exactly.
And you're giving yourself a glute workout at the same time.
Well, that's
All these side benefits, and I think it's the energy levels. It's definitely improves energy levels,
and
but
it keeps you alert as well. I mean, that's the thing.
So this idea kick-started in sort of 2016.
Yeah, we pushed that through, and everybody now, most offices most people will have sit-stand desks. Not that they always use, but they do have sit-stand desking. That's an improvement.
And as an ergonomist, where are you on walk pads underneath desks?
Oh, you should.
Good
funny to
idea.
say that. We've been testing this here as well. It does help, but it depends what you're doing. Obviously, if you're trying to type and look at a drawing, very fine work, you probably cannot do it. But if you're reading emails and various other things at a slow speed, yes, you can do it. In my time, I have seen when I was in Sweden or Denmark, I can't remember where, we had a sit-stand desk, and they attached a bicycle, so you sit on the bicycle cycle, and that was powering the computer. You stop, the computer stopped. So it was taking it to an extreme. But yes, it can help. But you don't expect to run at it. It's just going to be gentle.
No, I think running and reading might be a bit of a difficult challenge. So in terms of your standards work then, Levent, you've been involved in it a long time, and you've worked in school and office and domestic furniture. Where next for you and standards personally? Where do you hope to take your professional practice next?
I'm too old. I want to do it, but I don't think my body will let me go.
I just wonder if there's an area you're currently
No, this is the area currently,
on.
but I'm looking at this side of things, of sustainability and sort of circular economy. What can we do, and how we can get the designers to design for circular economy in mind, making sure that the product never ends in a landfill, and not forgetting the needs of the users. And also users need to be able to say repair and say things like that. It should be available, parts available and cheap enough for you to repair. Not, if it costs me that much, I'll better go and buy a new one. So I think that is the new challenge. And ergonomics, and also now working from home, that's quite a big challenge, and how are we going to deal with that? you find that there's most people working maybe 3 days in the office, 3-4 days, at least 1 or 2 days at home or more.
Is there a challenge for standards there, or is there what sort
We
of
don't
challenge
have
is there
any
for
standards for that technically, unless the place of your work in the home is classified as a workplace.
I mean, I don't want to create a new work
I don't want to. No.
Work item live for you, but do you feel this is an area where standards should be stepping in?
I think we need to look at see how people work, and more ergonomics in the domestic furniture side of things. And school furniture needs getting updated. We want to get away from our standard tables and chairs, which just forces static posture. So
Standards affect all of us every day, wherever we go, whatever we do. By defining good practice, they help people and organizations to do things better. Each year, standards bodies publish thousands of standards, and we are looking for more people like you to join our community of standards makers. We welcome applicants from all fields, backgrounds, and career stages. Our goal is a simple one: to have a balance of views around the table. By becoming a standards maker, you could help to improve the way things are made and done. Like creating higher quality healthcare systems, making advances in AI governance, accelerating climate action, or considering human capabilities in workplace furniture design, and many, many others. So if you want to make a difference and shape the world through standards, start your standards making journey now. Details of how to do so are in the show notes.
So obviously with the, in a standards committee, you've got stakeholders representing all sorts of interests, getting together, trying to develop consensus and agree what good looks like. I just wonder, take us inside a couple of committees. What sort of conversations or rows are you having over particular clauses? Because obviously you've talked about some of the standards take a longish time to develop. Take us inside there. Give us a sense of the conversations that take place.
Okay, when I started in '91, standards committees were a different world. People were there, mostly manufacturers. They're all defending their own corners. And when you come to the European ones, every country was defending their own standards. Think about when we were trying to develop European standards. There was the Germans defending their DIN, UK defending our great BSI, and then you had some other minor countries. It was mainly between France, UK and Germany, and people wouldn't speak to each other because they disagreed so much they wouldn't shake their hands. There was one guy once used to say to another German, "It's always nice to say goodbye to you." So it was terrible in those days, but we have moved since then. Now it's a lot more, we work like teams and we are basically experts. We're not trying to defend one country's point of view.
Defend those fixed positions. I just wonder what changed there then. You talked about the European legislation. Was that
maybe
what
one of the ones
that?
I did, because I've been chairing my committees about 25, 30 years, and always took the principle that we work as a team. I want everyone to work as a team. Consensus, I do not take votes. You take votes, polarity starts. So you need to work with the people. Everyone is happy to express their point of view, understand each other's needs, and work around it rather than saying, no, I don't want this, I only want mine. We all have different needs. They all have different markets, different group of people. So you listen and compromise without compromising the safety and well-being of people. So
was that something you learned essentially on the job? Did you think, well, this is the way we need to do this? I just wonder what.
Yeah.
We do a lot of our work is about getting younger voices involved in standards. I just wonder, as a professional development opportunity, how beneficial has it been for you to get involved in standards alongside? Obviously, you don't have to get involved in standards in your professional practice, but you've chosen to.
Yes.
I just wonder what were the professional development benefits of you doing that?
You do make difference to the whole world. I mean, basically, standard people ignore standards are a bit boring thing, but it does define how the products are made, how the workplace are designed. So it does make us challenging and challenge to get a team of experts from all over the world with their own expert. They're all experts. They're not just ordinary just workers often think, I just want to do standards. They really believe in it, a lot of people. So trying to get this team feeling, building, I found that what I've seen in the 90s, where the old guard was always fighting, I said, that's not how you'd make standards. It's just completely conflict. So I took this different approach. I said, I'll always have a consensus. And also, I believed in team building. And, okay, typical meetings I do, I have a meeting the night before the meeting starts. So we listen to everyone what their issues are over a big dinner and what various other things. You discuss openly what the issues are.
You get it all out on the table.
Exactly. Everyone understands. Yeah. So you start working around it, and I go and talk to different groups if they have really strong views. Get the team consensus before the meeting, so the meetings run much more smoothly. So this is also, you need to have some social side of the standards work. It's not just turning up somewhere and then have a meeting. And it's not as productive doing the virtual meetings as well. Certain things you need all the experts together, face to face. You still sound very excited and motivated about the power of standards in this particular area. I just wonder what you might say to younger ergonomists and obviously manufacturers and designers who are thinking of getting involved in standards. It's obviously had a huge impact on your career and your professional practice. What would you say to them if they were thinking about getting involved at the early part of their career? They should, and they will learn from other people as well. It's not only your views, you'll learn tremendously. You find out what other people's expertise are, especially if you go in a wider European or ISO levels, because there's so many other experts. They are really, really experts in their field. You learn and develop your own knowledge based on that. And, in cross fertilization of ideas and things do happen in these meetings. So it is challenging. It's not boring. If you're just going to go there to listen and do nothing, that's not for you. But if you want to make change, that's where you need to be. So obviously we're here at FIRA. Broad brush here. Give me a potted history of FIRA and why it's so important. Okay. FIRA, or Furniture Industry Research Association, was established after the Second World War, 1949, to help the industry to become lively again. And we provided expertise in every possible field of furniture, design. There were no standards. We have developed the standards there, and then actual FIRA experts who were all engineers. Most of them were aircraft engineers around here. So they were heavily understanding the engineering. So it was based on safety and engineering and equipment and designing of new furniture. Right up till 1984, it was a membership organization, so all the manufacturers had to pay a proportion of their turnover. Because everything we produced, research, we did a lot of research, as well as standards, belonged to the whole industry. They could all use it equally, so it wasn't individually based. 1984, it was decided that it has to be voluntary. The government said you can't force industry to pay, so it became voluntary membership. We still have over 400 members, but it has to be pay their membership, and we still do research on behalf of the industry, develop standards, obviously, again on behalf of the industry. So it is very important. It's equivalent to DIN. There's the only two other organizations, DIN and FIRA, has been right from the beginning developing standards. So are you a unique organization in the UK? Yes, doing all the furniture research and development and testing, and sitting at the committees and representing the views of the UK and the manufacturers. And so if you are sitting at home, sitting on your sofa in your lounge, or sitting at your kitchen chair, my recliner, or your recliner, your nice recliner, your Barcelona chair, I would think, or something like that, people will be benefiting from the work of this organisation. Yes, definitely. If nothing, the safety of our products, the product is to... if you think about gas cylinders, chairs, Not so long ago, in 1990s, they used to explode.
Not very handy.
Yes, it killed people and things like that. So people, even HSE at one time, thought people shouldn't be using gas cylinder chairs. We work with the designers, improve the gas cylinder design so that they do not explode upwards. They just leak. So it has become safe. If nothing, that has improved. So everybody now sits on a gas cylinder, not on the seats and everything else. All your recliners and things work on the same principle.
But give me a sense of scale here, Levent. There must be thousands of manufacturers that come here and test their products with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, they will test. Some will pass, some will fail. So our experts, who are the consultants, will help them to how to improve the product if there was a failure, why it failed, and how we could help them. That was the other thing we are not the people who test the product. They cannot tell how to improve it because it's a conflict of interest. But the consultants can help them to improve their products. So there is feedback loop all the time. And manufacturers learn and things like that. And they do pre-test as well. So we're trying to get them to test it. And if they're developing a new product, do it at an earlier level so that you don't do a lot of expenditure and investment. And suddenly your product fails. Making a shell or a mold will cost like £200,000 if you got it wrong. It's just.
I had a brief walk through the lab on the way up here. I just wanted to give us a sense again of what sort of products are being tested downstairs right now.
We have, at the moment, I can see a lot of sofas and various seating, and some office chairs are in testing. We don't have any tables, which we often do, and storage units. We test cabinets. We test things like you slam a door. You think that's a misuse, but that is what people do.
So it's got to be slammed over and over and over again.
So that it still survives. I mean, that's the other thing. We allow what we call an acceptable misuse. Tables are not designed for sitting on or standing on.
We're going to sit on them anyway.
So therefore you have to do it. It's that kind of thing. And the testing, again, what I've been trying to do, and for ergonomic side of things as well, it needs to be linked to the human. You're going to have dimensions, you're going to measure a chair and things like that. It needs to relate to a body part so that it's relevant. Same thing over and over. Whatever you're testing is relevant to the use of the product, not the convenience of the test house or the convenience of the manufacturer.
So with a sofa then, how many times would that be sat upon in order to test it?
It's like 50,000 cycles, and
that's constantly, so it'd be going on and on and on?
Yes, it goes on and on 24 hours.
In fact, does it run 24 hours a day?
Yes, exactly, they do. Yes.
So the noise never stops?
Well, yes. I mean, some of the office chairs, there's a British standard 5459 that tests office chairs for 24-hour use for people weighing up to 150 kg. That's been tested for 500,000 cycles.
500,000
cycles, yes.
I should have asked you whether the chair I'm sitting on has gone through that process.
I'm not sure. I can't tell you that.
So 500,000 up and down.
European standards are about 250,000 or more. But the British standard allows safe failure, so it's not.
So tested to destruction in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's very, very strong standard. But they have, if you look at it, say 5-10 years of use, when we're designing the number of cycles, we look at this product will be lasting 5-10 years without having to be repaired and things like that. So we then estimate how many times people are likely to get up and get off. And how long they'll be sitting on.
And your rather lovely desk over there, how many times does that have to go up and down to pass the test?
I think it's 5,000 cycles. That's the electrical mechanism. That's the weakest part of it.
Now, it would be remiss of me, Levent, to not bring up a very important issue or very important thing. The BSI bum. Can you tell me about? Tell me all about the BSI bum.
It may not be BSI. It could be a FIRA bum. I think that was how it was.
Don't spoil it for me now.
Okay, joint BSI FIRA.
But it's all about the bum. So tell me about
it. There's a chap called Bill Gulliver who has been here since 1964 when we moved to Stevenage from London, and
it's not his bum, is it?
Rumors are his or his secretary. We cannot tell. But what he was doing was when he was testing the seats, he said, put a load on the seat, you press it down. But he says it's just a round thing. Your bottom is not round. We have legs and things. So he decided that we should have reflecting the shape of the body when we're pressing on the seat. So he got an imprint of somebody's bottom.
So it wasn't a standard bum, it was just a bum.
Well, it was roughly average.
Okay.
But it's interesting is that's bum is now, let's not call it bum, whatever the...
I don't know what the better term is, a bottom.
Let's call it bottom, is now used right throughout CEN and ISO all over the world. So
that same one?
Precisely the same one.
Right. So
and the thing is...
And that goes back to 1964?
Yes. And it was recent. They didn't even have drawing because he had his own way of making it. And I had to find out a new drawing. So we had to make a new drawing so people can now produce it accurately. They used to copy it from one bum to the other. Now
so that bottom design, has not been changed in all that time?
No.
It has stood the test of time?
Yes.
Do you think bottoms have evolved?
Well, we're getting wider.
I just wonder, but why? That's interesting that it's not been changed. Is it because it's still considered?
Because simulating is a normal person, average person size and shape.
Right.
And it's the fact that it's most important is it's not just round.
Yeah.
Flat surface, it's curves and it simulates the leg and as
and
well
this is
bottom.
Being pushed down onto the furniture and back up again and down again.
Yes.
Fantastic. So, I can't believe it has not changed in all that time.
No one has said we want to change it.
And that's been covered by CEN and CENLEC and ISO as well?
Exactly. We use it. All the furniture standards use that.
So that goes way back to 1964, a standard
when it
bottom.
Started, yes.
Fantastic.
Now, having travelled to talk to Levent, in part about the beerside bum or the standard bum, I had to see what the fuss was all about. After all, how often do you get the chance to come face to face with a scientifically certified derriere?
Okay, well, we have it here. I'm going to get you to describe this. What are we looking at here? So, sort of, it doesn't look as I expected it to look.
Well, it is an imprint of it's an imprint of someone sitting on a soft surface. So you take an impression of it. If you turn it over.
Okay, you can see it's like a long bum. I suppose this is the bum bit here.
These are your
the buttocks.
Yeah, buttock bones. Ischial tuberosities are 2 points here and there, and these are your legs.
The legs
down
underneath,
the side,
yeah.
Yes. And this is your back, and then your spine goes up the other way. So
I'm going to say that is probably wide. I've got a relatively big bum. I don't mind declaring that, but I think that's slightly bigger than mine.
Yeah, he was a larger man.
I'm not going to look behind to see if it fits you, but
No.
So that's on the back. Then on the front, what have we got here? So we've got.
What happened?
So we've got these two sort of metal, these sort of circle bits of metal here on the
you
front.
just give some weight because this is held here by you'll see downstairs in the machine.
Okay.
It's spread and it's also pivots, and we wanted sort of some way to, so that it doesn't always push.
I see. So it's got a sort of a here where you can see an attachment will
the
go on.
Pistons will push it down
right.
on this point. So, and sometimes we allow it to swivel because human body, when you get up and things you may.
I see.
Get up.
And what's it actually made of?
It's glass fiber.
Glass fiber.
So now we have the drawings, and you could do sort of a CAD.
So is this the original? This one here, or is it just one of many that you have?
This is one of the many we have. We had so many of those.
Does the original one still exist?
No, I think it's broken.
Oh, it's lost. Oh, it's been broken. It's been tested. The bottom been tested to destruction.
When I first started, we used to still make them. We had the molds, and we're using a glass fiber. We used to make them here.
And how many will you have of these? Dozens.
Yeah, nearly 100.
So all across the different testing houses around the world, they'll be using exactly the same shape. So it is a bottom that has stood the test of times. It's 1964.
Forever, yes.
Wow.
I don't know when it's going to go. It's going to outlast me.
And is nobody pushing for it to be changed?
No one questions it.
No one questions it at all.
And in fact, if you start doing circular pads instead of these bottom shapes. People say, well, that doesn't look like people's bottom, so it's obvious people get the hang of it. But for desks and things, we use normal circular pads, but this is just for seating.
So Levent, tell me about this. We've got an office chair, but with quite a lot of equipment on the front of it. Talk me through this.
This is called a chair measuring device, which I've helped design with a number of European and American experts. It's basically to try to simulate someone sitting on the chair. So this is the base weight, and then we have these extra weight at the front, which kind of represents the weight of the legs. And this is the back. The buttocks lean against the backrest, and this is the weight where you lean on the chair, gives you some sort of weight to your shoulders. So then you could see we pump up these air pistons so that it gets the shape of the spine, so we could see where the lumbar support is, and we measure the seat depth from the back of the seat to the front by this device, so you can easily read it.
So this is your design.
Yes, it reflects how people sit, and then how it is measured, so that it corresponds to the human size. So
And how long has this particular testing chair been used for?
we developed it in 1995, but we started first using it in 2010, and then it's now been in ISO standard for 20 years.
So if you're sitting in an office chair, it is almost certain that it's gone through this testing process using this particular model. What do we call it again?
Chair measuring device, CMD, or a
chair
dummy,
measuring
ISO dummy.
device.
Call it ISO dummy.
Guys, so I think maybe after 20 years, maybe we could rebrand it. I think maybe. Don't you think? Chair measuring
And
device.
I did another one, made simpler version of this, designed it for school school chairs, which are not as complicated as this. So we have a school chair measuring device.
There's a consistency
But
there. I
it's
like
exactly it's standardized how you measure it. Otherwise, people used to get all different. What angle do you want my seat to be? You put your protractor at a certain point, you get the angle. So we said, look, this simulates. If you want the seat angle, you put the protractor here. So it's otherwise because it was pointless. Everyone was passing the standard, and yet how did you get that angle? Oh, I just put it here. Well, is that how you feel? I can't tell. So we said, doing this simulates how someone would.
Yeah, how they really use it.
Yes. I mean, it's not
in real
perfect,
life,
but it's just
as much as possible.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Awesome.
the next stage, I would think, not for me, I'm too old. I tell the young ones, you start with completely new, different ideas. You could have virtual measurements, I don't know, or you could make new mannequins using a complete mannequin, but just this is a challenge. Don't try to improve this, start anew, because when I first started, I didn't try to improve something, we started a completely different way of doing it.
But maybe it's time sometimes to start afresh and think about it differently.
Yeah. This is what you talk about the young standard makers. There is a challenge there. You come up with ideas and new frontiers. So.
I think you must experience this within your committee work, because you're thinking you have people around the table representing various stakeholder interests that maybe have been there for a long time. How important is it to you as a chair of an organisation to make sure you get those different voices inside, sitting round the table? Obviously tested, tested table. How important is it that they provide their contribution to the standards making process?
Well, they do. They need to do it, because otherwise it'll be repetition of what we had, and people have to openly suggest new ideas or issues what they realize with the existing method or whatever the requirements are. Talk it through, link to the people, how people are going to use it, and safety regulations if there are, to make sure that you address those. I mean, there's the biggest thing now coming through. They won't forgive me for this, but I will say it. We have different sizes of fingers, or children's fingers or adult fingers, depending on which standard you're looking at. One of my aims is make sure that we use the same finger size regardless of what standard it is.
So we have standard little toddler dummies, but not standardized fingers.
Yes, we have sometimes 7, sometimes 8, sometimes 5 millimeters.
I see.
So we need to make sure that if the risk is there, depending on the age of the child, we all use the same dimension.
And why do we have different dimensions for fingers?
Because that's how they used to make furniture before, because now we measure children's fingers 7 or even 5 depending on younger age, but the biggest problem was the shelf support holes. They used to be 8 millimeter diameter. If you made the requirement 7, they would all fail. I think we moved away from that. We are moving away gradually.
So the next challenge is to standardise the finger.
Make sure that it is all the same, different standards.
Just as an aside, do I have you to thank for when I've had some stairs made and the difference between the balustrades was to make sure a child's head wouldn't go through?
Yes, that's one of the things. We have things called children's head probes and body probes. We always make sure that is it. That's one of the ergonomics' biggest contribution is anthropometric providing dimensions. In fact, I sit in another committee that we've been looking at a European study of children's sizes across Europe, which we're about to publish in 6 months, new data for whole of Europe, children's data. And we just embarked on adult size as well.
So that's just, because obviously you're involved in testing of furniture around human conditions, but obviously those human conditions and attributes are changing.
Yes,
so you're sort of setting a new standards work around, well, what do we mean by sizes?
And also we want to find what they are. So when we know if you want to cover a very tall European person, what does it mean, depending on what dimensions you're looking. So we measure children. We're going to publish the latest data. We are about to do it for the adults in Europe. So we get new set of data. Standard makers need that data.
So what standard is that then? It's a European level?
It's a European level, SEN 122, which is the Ergonomist Committee, and part of one of the groups, working group 1, looks at the anthropometrics, and group 2 look at the strength of people. So the standard we're developing, or the technical report, will be published as children's strength and body dimensions.
And by getting those dimensions right, or revising those, obviously that then sort of trickles across all the other standards, because it's being applied.
All the other standards will have to use those, because they all being using from different sources. Now we unified it, and it's reliable, correct, and reflects what the today's children
So that's
are.
just come up under regular review, and now is the time to try and address that?
No, it was a new one. We didn't have a anthropometric standard for children. We had it for adults, but not for children.
Oh, I see.
So we are now doing that. And we all used individual. I mean, in fact, I did in 2000, measured 2,000 children in UK to develop the dimensional standard for school furniture based on our findings. So we had to get the new data. I did get the data, and then we then.
How do you go about measuring 2,000 children?
It's difficult. It was easier then. Now there's much more restrictions on what you can, do with children and things like that. But hence the study we've been doing in Europe has been very, very difficult and takes a long time to get the right measurements for children.
Now I'm looking, Levent. These are quite scary. There's a couple of dolls. One is sitting looking very, very uncomfortable, sitting in a child's high chair. Another one looking, I think, like on an aircraft seat. A train seat.
Yes.
And these are pretty. I almost don't want to touch them.
Because we've been tested.
Quite realistic dolls. Oh my God, they're heavy. Oh my goodness.
We had to weigh them.
So these are like I would say a 1-year-old.
No, these are about 3-year-old.
No, they're not.
4-year-old, but they are not this actual size. We couldn't get them. You could only get this size. But they're instead of using cylinders, which is what you could use to simulate a person, we use these dolls to assess the products. But the standard says the weight of the cylinder, body weight, should be 9 kg or 15 kg.
I see.
So we operate them. We used to have students. They used to open them up, fill it with lead shots in it, and then so that it does weigh the right weight.
So what's the technical term for these dolls?
Dummies.
They're called.
They're not quite mannequins. But
they're not quite mannequins. What's the difference between a dummy and a mannequin?
Mannequins are the ones that could actually make it a human proper size.
The whole proper size.
Yes, they are adult size ones.
I must admit, neither of these two children look very comfortable in these seats.
No, because they're not meant for that. This one is too small.
He's definitely too small for the high chair.
Yes.
The poor thing. They are quite freaky though, I must admit, and they've got although they do have rock star haircuts.
Yes.
I do like the haircuts.
The testing guys used to give different hairstyle for them.
Because they don't need to have hair, but they've been given hair.
Yeah.
And they're dressed, they've got little shoes on there. They're very nice.
A boy and a girl, or whatever they used to do.
So how would they be? They would just be placed on the chair within the high chair.
Products, high chairs, push chairs, various other things for young children, and we have even a younger version of this for very small babies.
So just to see how they would deal with movements,
how would interact, fit into the how easy is it to put it in out of a high chair or.
And again, are these dummies based on a standard approach?
Yes.
And used
the
worldwide?
Weights and the sizes are kind of defined in those.
Now, the bum has been around since '64. How long ago?
I've introduced these maybe in 2005 or something.
This is something you came up with?
Yes.
This is your personal contribution?
Because if you're trying to use how easy to use as a parent, we can't use live children. We do some user trials, but for expert assessment and things, you put these in there, and then to see how easy to get to tie it up or whatever. It's just interesting. We used to years ago do some push chairs trials, and we used to put these in.
Did you just run along the run along?
Yes,
you did
walk into town, and then you had the funniest looks.
So you actually took them outside of real life examples.
You had to walk up and down.
And did up and down the stairs and rushing to trains and things. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, very strange looks, but they are.
They're a little bit like Chucky out of
yes.
The name of the film I can't remember.
That's the
They're
one.
They're a little bit like Chucky. Yes, if you've everyone has watched the film.
The name is Chucky. Yes.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the one's looking at me right now.
The other one is Chucky.
That's exactly what they remind me of. But yeah, wow. Thank you. Of course, the film, or rather the franchise, I was struggling to recall was Child's Play. It centres around a mom who buys her son a highly sought-after doll for his birthday, which he affectionately names Chucky. Unfortunately, things take a dark turn when the boy discovers that Chucky is possessed by the soul of a serial killer. By the fourth instalment, Bride of Chucky, we're introduced to the fabulously named Tiffany Valentine. Now, with Chucky and his murderous bride behind us, Levent and I made our way down to the testing floor. So we've come from the offices upstairs, and we're working into. Is this the laboratory area? What do you call
the laboratory testing, physical structural testing area. This is where we do the physical testing of all different types of furniture.
So I'm looking across here. It's about.
There is a bed test there, testing the bed frame over there.
I can see the bed. I can see a sofa over there as well. I can see some deck chairs too. Well, I can see a bed going up and down.
Deck chairs as well.
Deck chairs.
And now we're walking. There is an office chair.
I can see a mattress. I can see a mattress being pressed down there.
Now that is testing the base of the. That's a test mattress. We press it on that to test the slats, the base of the bed.
I see you testing the slats of the bed rather than the mattress itself. Yes. And I can see an office chair where the back is being pushed upon.
Yes, we're testing the strength of the backrest to see how strong. That's again, it could be 40,000 cycles. So
we are on the hunt though for the bottom.
Bottom is, if you follow me, you'll see the bottom in two places. Let's come this way.
Another sofa there being pummeled, really, I suppose the way to describe it.
This way, this funny one.
Oh, I think I can see it.
You look at this chair here.
I see, so it's an office chair, and we have. What's this machine that it's attached to here? What do we call this?
It works with the air, with pistons, air pistons. What happens is you try to simulate someone sitting on the chair. What you do is put your bottom first, press it on it, sit on it, and then you will lean back, push the backrest backwards, if it does follow my instructions. It's getting up.
And it's like you're getting up again, and you can hear that click as it gets up, and then it's slow, sort of sit down, and then slowly pushing it down to, I presume, replicate how it would have a person
someone
sit down.
sitting on a chair and then leaning back. Actually, this is doing a different test. But this one...
Although we just turn around, and the one behind us is now pushing the back of the seat.
Same, exactly. Sitting down, leaning back, repeating that. I think if this is a European, it's now sitting at the front edge.
It's now sitting at the front
edge of the seat.
So it's as if the legs are over the front of the seat.
Yes, now sitting fully back in the chair and leaning back.
So this machine obviously is working. It's done it probably 15 times as we've been standing here. So how this would go through how many times?
It would go up to 200,000.
200,000
for the European standard.
For the European standard.
But if you were using the BS one, it could go up to 500,000 cycles.
Wow.
So
wow.
They're very standard.
And we have
also, if you look at this sofa here, we do the same machine on the sofa.
It's another BSI bottom, and we have on a grey sofa here. We have a what's this device here? Pushing on the back. The back pad. And then we have
the bottom plate, which is the seat loading pad we call it.
Now, are you saying what you said earlier on, where this design here for this sofa is too big? Are you saying because it's too deep?
Well, I'm not saying about this particular one, but in general, they tend to be too deep. So that if you want to sit with your legs on the floor, it's too far. You need to sit at the front edge of the seat, and then there's a gap behind you. So maybe that's why they sell additional cushions to cross that gap.
So this is going to this one here with the sofa. This could be running for a couple of days.
No. This will take maybe 8 weeks. 10 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yes.
So this machine
because
here.
You can't do it very fast because it needs to recover.
No, of course. So of course 200,000 times. So 8 weeks of this repetition on this machine. Incredible.
The British standard one lasts 16 weeks.
16 weeks. So if you
complain it takes too long, but
so you may be sitting on a you may be even sitting listening to this podcast on a sofa, settee at home. And it may have the actual cushions may have been tested 500,000 times using the BSI bottom.
Yes. Good old BSI bottom. Yes. And you could see there's a multiple one. You could set 2 different seating positions at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's everywhere. I mean,
it is. I'm looking around now and I can see the BSI bottom absolutely everywhere. Is there a technique? I've called it the BSI bottom. Is there a name for it?
The seat loading template.
The seat loading template. It's not as good though, is it? Let's be honest.
Well, I mean, you could just seat loading pad, but it is at the bottom. It makes it more human anyway.
Is there anything else we could see? What else have we got?
There is a machine there where we actually test the mattresses, rolling on the mattress of someone. Simulating someone rolling on the bed for many years.
That's all that.
So we haven't got one in there at the moment.
Okay, so we have this machine here is mattress test EN 1957. So we have an EN standard. That's the test standard. And we've got well, describe this for me.
Mattress lies on the surface, and this
it's like a huge
shape.
It's like a huge wooden rolling pin.
Yes, exactly. Very large wooden. Rolled backwards and forwards on the pad number of times, number of cycles specified in the standard.
So this is to make sure that it's tested sufficiently so that when children jump on the mattress,
no jumping.
Oh no! Well, how do you have a machine that tests that?
We don't do jumping. I think that is one of the things not acceptable misuse.
So what's this rolling pin?
Someone rolling on the bed, sleeping.
Rolling
over a period of time.
I see.
Rolls from one side to the other. So basically, it does that. So it gives you how much the mattress compresses and whether it sags in the middle and things like that. So
we don't have a mattress on there at the moment, but again, how many times would that be rolling across the mattress?
Again, it could be 50,000
times. Fantastic. So that's mattress test EN 1957.
Yep.
Nice.
Not electric, so there's an ottoman. We're just lifting it up and down, whatever number of cycles. So he's lifting it and lowering it with weights on it.
Yes, we've got a bed here, and a lot of beds have these sort of underground
storage.
This storage underneath the bed. So we've got this machine here, various pulleys and ropes to lift up the bed.
Yeah.
There he goes. He reveals the storage
machine.
underneath.
Yes.
I was setting it up for the test to take place. I have one of these, so my sofa actually would have gone through this because it has storage underneath. I suppose similar principle, I guess, isn't it?
Exactly. Yes. So it has to go to a certain height.
It is quite
speed.
satisfying to watch it going up and down, isn't it? It's quite therapeutic, quite hypnotic even.
No, you get mesmerised if you look at it. Yes.
It is. It was indeed mesmerising and hypnotic. Now, a big thank you to Levent for sharing with me his insights and expertise on the relationship between furniture, ergonomics and standards. And thanks also to the testing team at FIRA for giving me access to their testing floor. Thanks also to BSI colleague Susie Radcliffe-Hart for her help in developing this episode. Now, if you want to know more about standards and ergonomics, or about how to get involved in standards, then check out the links in the show notes. And the show notes are also where you can find details of our socials and all the other ways to get in touch with us here on The Standard Show.
You have been listening to an episode of The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards, with Matthew Chiles and Cindy Paragill.
You just heard a Stripped Media production.